funeral.
What's going on, everyone? It's Mike taking the piss out of John, who's taking the piss out of Mike because I haven't took my jacket off just yet. Welcome back to more news. I feel like a broadcaster. I'm currently lying down on the pitch. Guess what?
Come on.
I look like I've put my finger in a plug socket.
Wish you fucking did.
Right, let's be more professional this evening, John, because the first 2.5 minutes of yesterday's video was an absolute car crash.
I am. It's you who forgets to unmute. Don't start.
Right, cool. Beto's off to Leeds, potentially. You love that.
Does he need a lift? I'll take him. I will take him. I will drive him. Yeah, and it's come from a very reputable source as well. Rob Dawson, who works for Sky. Leeds could be about to make an offer to Everton to take Beto to Ellen Road. Yeah, I have no problem with that. I will wish him well for his future, but he hasn't exactly set the world alight. He had a purple patch, as we keep saying on here, but it's not good enough, and the purple patch has not continued. Scoring the odd goal here and there, but to go forward, mate, we need better than him. So if he wants to go to Leeds, goodbye, Beto.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that there's better out there. You know, when you look at, we spent £30 million on him. I actually can't believe that was sanctioned. And look, you know, we can talk about players all we like, but the fundamentals are a player comes into a football club to deliver whatever area on the pitch they are positionally. And Beto has got all the right attitude, but absolutely no ability to trap a ball. And I think he's got great heading ability, but let's be honest, up until recently, the deliveries into the box have been poor. He's been okay one-on-ones, but then they seem to have dried up. So, yeah, I mean, he scored 7 goals this season. I remember when we signed him and we said that he'd scored 10 goals in Syria, and how does that translate to the Premier League? Well, I'll be straight with you. It doesn't translate particularly well most of the time.
Well, that's been proven, hasn't it?
Time and time again, to be honest, time and time again by multiple different players across multiple different teams in the Premier League. Every single season, you see players come over from Syria and just not make the grade. And Beto is, in my opinion, one of those players. As I say, it's not a dig at him. It's not a dig on his character. It's not a dig on his mentality even. But if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. It's like you, John, if I'm being honest, right? If you aren't good at something, you accept you're not good at something and move on. And sometimes you've just got to do that. So if the money's right from Everton, I think Beto, who we already know was looking at a move in January, now's your time to go, my friend. Good luck to you.
I mean, as you say, we're not digging them out because we've seen certain players who have been called out lately, removing Everton from their bio and changing their photo in their backdrop. So it's not a dig at Beto, but he has. He tries hard, doesn't he? He's got the right attitude. He's got all the right attitude in the world. It's just that it's not consistent. He wasn't consistent in Serie A because he only scored 10 goals. He's come here, he scored 7. He had a purple patch, but it's not consistent enough. As I say, he's got the right attitude. He tries hard. He will come off with blood, sweat and tears when he comes off that pitch. But to go to the next level, we need a lot better than Beto. So he doesn't take us to the next level. So we just have to move on. And as you're quite right with what you point out, Michael, for £30 million, there is better out there than Beto. Whoever sanctioned the deal, as you say, got it completely wrong, in my opinion. He hasn't set the world alight with his goal scoring attitude spot on. But apart from that, he's not a very good footballer. He can't trap a bag of sand, and you're spending £30 million on someone, mate. You'd expect them to be able to have some sort of football and ability to warrant that price tag. And all he's got is attitude, but football-wise, mate, I think he's very poor.
Yeah, and if you look at Beto's scoring stats, his best season has been for a team called Olympico Montijo. And I mean, my understand looking at this, it looks like they are. It looks like they're a literally district level football league, like
level.
Well, yeah, like probably a level below what I played at.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, he got a big move, nice attitudes, but yeah. You mentioned about James Garner, and I wanted to talk about James Garner because he obviously did the thing with the display picture and taking Everton out of his bio. Now, this works two ways for me. If as a footballer you can't deal with the pressure and criticism for having bad performances, or maybe not playing to your full potential, or maybe playing in a style that doesn't fit where a football team is going, you're going to get criticised. And I think football these days, rather than say, I don't know, 20 years ago, due to social media, is harder because you can't get away from being criticised. You know, you on a Monday, 20 years ago, Paul Scholes, David Beckham, whoever it is, would open the newspaper and it would give you a player rating and say you were good, poor, average, whatever. And that was it. You'd maybe be spoke about on Match of the Day, and that was it. These days, it is nasty. You know, we've seen people jump into comments of James Tarkowski's wife. We've seen people on Twitter. We've seen people on Instagram. We've seen racism. We've seen the emergence of all of these not so nice things. But that also doesn't mean you should be able to stop from doing he didn't have a good game. He's not a very good footballer, because you're allowed an opinion. When you buy a football ticket, you are allowed an opinion. Now, every single time, you almost have to caveat what you're saying these days, because, you know, we could sit here and go, Michael Keane shit football or Beto shit at football, but they've got great attitudes. They're nice people. The fundamentals are none of us know. All we can do is comment about what they do on a football pitch. And if somebody's gone too far with James Garner, any fan channel, including ours, by the way, if we was ever pulled up on that, you'd always put your hands up and say, I'm really sorry if we went too far. Sometimes the silent treatment from a footballer doesn't help. It's best to talk. It's best. My point I'm making is James Tarkowski and his wife came out after some of the horrible things that were said about him, come out and said, that's unacceptable. I don't appreciate that. Don't do it. I think James Garner should do the same. If he was upset by what people have said about his performance this weekend, I think he should have come out and gone, look, maybe I didn't play my best, but it doesn't need to be personal. Do you get what I mean?
To be honest with you, mate, I've seen comments aimed towards James Tarkowski, and I can honestly say, hands on hard, I don't think any of them, from what I've seen, there might be some out there that have missed, that are really over the top.
Mate, so, got a death threat in his DMs.
He what?
You got a death threat in his DMs?
Well, see, I haven't seen that, so I haven't seen that. But if anyone does that, they're the fucking lowest of the low. He could be the shittest footballer in the world. No one deserves.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah, he's very well paid. He's got a job that we'd all love to do. But he's a human being, so no one should be putting death threats into people's DMs on their social media. So if it's someone who watches the fucking channel, grow up, because that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. I didn't see that. But you're right. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. Now, I'm not a big lover of Jimmy Garner. I'm not. I think I've highlighted earlier. I don't see what he really gives us, but people will probably put in the comments he gives us more than some players, which is fair enough. As I always said, and I said this to you today, I always look at, do we miss certain players when they don't play? When James Garner doesn't play, do we miss him? I wouldn't say we really miss him. No, I think we can go and easily win a game if we're on our game with James Garner not playing. But the threats, the death threats, are that's just way above anything that is acceptable. Players should be able to take criticism to a certain level. And as you're quite right with what you pointed out, James Tarkowski's on it with his missus. He come out, he tried to right the wrongs, and then we've never heard anything about that again. It got sort of brushed under the carpet. Tarkowski got on with it, and the trolls got on with it, and nothing was mentioned again because Tarkowski come out and he addressed the situation. I think now, for James Garner to be getting death threats and to remove Everton from his bio and to make his picture blank, I think he could do worse than actually coming out and telling everyone that he doesn't appreciate it and fronting the criticism by saying, yeah, he hasn't been playing well the last couple of weeks. And that'll probably be the end of it as well. But it doesn't help when, as you're quite right with what you point out, players are silent, because the more quiet they are and the longer they're like that, probably the more criticism they're going to get, because these people who do it are waiting for a bite. They're waiting for a bite.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you sit there and you think, I mean, we get criticism. I mean, Jesus Christ, the amount of comments I've had in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. I've been called all sorts of stuff. I've been called out. I've been offered out. I've literally had everything simply for being a Brummer, which is absolutely ridiculous. But it does happen. And
I've had the comments for having an opinion.
Yeah, and I think the problem I have with, it's not even just football, it's actually society. I'm worried we've actually gone too far where
social media doesn't help.
Opinions hurt too much, and we're all entitled to something. Agreed, there is definitely a line. But if you can't sit here on a Saturday after a match and say that person's played poorly, then what are we doing? Why do we watch Match of the Day? Why do we watch fan channels? Why do we read the reports in the paper? If we've gone that far, I think it's a really difficult subject. So the point I wanted to make was, if James Garner has been offended by anyone and it has gone too far, then it's bang out of order. Absolutely bang out of order. But if it's just criticism that is received and he struggles to cope with it, in my opinion, the club should be doing more to support players who may get criticised. Every single footballer on this earth at some point has been criticised for something. Cristiano Ronaldo, when he first made it in Man United, Lloyd Keane come out and said, you don't pass enough. You don't pass enough. Their own fans were screaming at him for not passing. We've seen it with Sterling, for example, in I think it was the World Cup or the Euros. He goes down the right-hand side. He beats the same player 5 times and then pushes the ball out of play. We're all screaming at the telly, pass the ball, pass the ball. We have all criticised people. So I just think we as a club may need to do more with players. And I also think us as a fan base and as a society really do need to look at the way that we address these things. Me and you have spoken about this a few times, but I think more can be done. And the other thing that's, I think, important is getting to know players. Back in the day, you know this yourself, back in the day, you'd watch the game of football and the players would literally cross the road and go in the pub, or they'd get on the bus home, or you'd see them on the train, or you've got a relationship with players like, people like John Bailey, for example. You'd come over to you and go, right, John, how are you? No one has that relationship with a footballer anymore. They don't even park their car and sign autographs anymore. They've got security everywhere. And that relationship between fan and player is only making this worse.
But the modern day footballer is not doing much to help himself now. Take the death threat.
But I don't think that's their fault either. I think a lot of it might be the club.
Well, yeah, the club aren't doing obviously enough. But if you take, I'll get shot down for this, and I don't mean this by I'm dissing the comment, by the way. But if you take the death threat that Jimmy Garner received out of the equation, and it's just a couple of people mentioning him on Twitter, you're being poor lately, you're crap, you're not good enough to take the club forward. Footballers should be able to take that level of criticism. In my opinion, they should. The death threats are on a different level. Take that out of the equation. Footballers should be able to accept criticism, because if they can't, then it comes weak to me. It shows that they're weak and they can't accept someone saying, you're not good enough to take us to the next level. We don't miss you when you don't play. We don't want you in the team. You're not good enough to take us forward. Footballers should be able to laugh that off. Now, if James Garner has removed it just for the death threat, then I get that. But if it's a culmination of things, I just think the club needs to be doing more. But I also think not just James Garner, I think the individual needs to be stronger as well and laugh at the comments that they get on social media. Not the death threat one, obviously, but anything else. It's like you bring up a couple of players, that ex-players I know. Like I was in town the other week on Old Hall Street, and Pat Van Den Hauwe was walking past there. I went, Pat, and he come over and he spoke to me for 10 minutes, shook my hands. How are you, John? I haven't seen you for a while in the Segura. Blah. We were just talking about everyday life. Pat had been ill. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's not my place to say, but he hadn't been well over Christmas, and we were talking about that. You don't get that now. You don't get, players, ex-players, current players, especially given the fans the time of day. I've known Pat for a couple of years now, and John Bailey, and the lovely fellas, but you wouldn't get Jordan Pickford doing that, or you wouldn't get Dominic Calvert-Lewin doing that. And I just think now the fans don't help themselves, but the club and the players aren't helping themselves with the situation like that either.
Yeah, there does need to be a happy balance. And just to correct one thing, we don't know if James Garner got death threats. We don't know the reason. I think you got confused with James Tarkowski. But the facts are, whatever reason it was, it should be ironed out. Players should be able to equally express their reaction to a game as fans react to them playing the game. And we do see it. Declan Rice, for example, the other week after the Champions League game, he come out and he goes, if we don't have the ball, we die. That was literally a quote that come out of his mouth, and fans are jumping on it in a positive way. He comes out and he goes, we weren't good enough when Arsenal lost in, I think it was the Carabao Cup. They come out and he come out and goes, it's not good enough. It's not acceptable. Losing at home. And Arsenal fans now absolutely adore Declan Rice, absolutely adore him. And it's because he's being open and honest. Leicester fans absolutely love Jamie Vardy because every interview has always been honest, absolutely honest. We love Duncan Ferguson because if we were shit, he would come out and go, yeah, we weren't good enough. Yeah. And actually, David Moyes is doing a similar thing. David Moyes has come out and several times this season and go, yeah, that was poor. That was poor. Well, that weren't good enough. Or we want to be here. And we're siding with people because we're getting to know them and their intention and their mentality. Roy Keane's mentioned this before on the overlap. He mentions about players' mentality now. And I do genuinely think now more than ever, mentality is what separates a bang average footballer to an absolute top draw footballer, because some footballers will get that criticism and they'll go, I don't give a shit.
It's all about respect, mate. And I think respect has to work both ways with a fan base and players. Now, people might shoot me down and say, well, you've got no respect for certain players. You said you'll drive Beto to Leeds. That's a tongue-in-cheek. I'm not going to drive Beto to Leeds. It's tongue-in-cheek. I don't rate him as a footballer, but I wouldn't go on social media and at him and give him death threats, whether it be Tarkowski, whether it be James Garner. That's my opinion. And as you're quite right with what you pointed out before, football players will have opinions on the fan base. There'll be Everton players who've got an opinion on the fan base. They either hate us. James Tarkowski the other night on the Monday Night Football turned around and said, I love playing in front of at Goodison. I love playing in front of them fans. It's the best atmosphere going. He's given the fan base who pay his wages respect. And Tarkowski, obviously from the time he got a bit of shit, but since then he's fronted it. He's getting the respect again back off the fans now. So it works hand in hand, but it is a fine line between overstepping it and going too far with death threats and just staying under the line and me saying tongue-in-cheek, I'll drive Beto to Leeds. Beto would probably laugh at me for saying that if he heard this quote, you know what I mean? But it works hand in hand, and no footballer is, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not immune to they're not immune to any, you know, to any, what's the word? Footballers aren't immune to any bad, like, press for it. Not bad press, but bad comments from the fans. You know, we've got an opinion on them. If they play shit, we'll say it. But I'd also expect football players to say the atmosphere wasn't brilliant at Goodison this Saturday. We needed the fans on Saturday. You know, it works hand in hand. And these days, it doesn't seem to do that as much as what it used to in years gone by. So I just think the club need to be doing more with certain individuals, because clubs will know which players will fly off the handle and go straight back at the fans and get themselves into hot water, or players who will sort of go missing off social media like James Garner has. I think some of them need a hand round the shoulder just to help them through the rocky patch that they're going through when they're not playing well. And it's down to the club more than anything.
Yeah, and we have seen it before with players like Michael Keane, etc., who've had, you know, bad days. So, yeah, let's move on, just touch on some of the other things that Everton have been linked with today. Interesting report coming out of Rangers, actually, that Gareth Prosser, who was the Everton Academy director up until very recently, is going to Rangers by the looks of it, who is following Kevin Felwell. Now, I know that Everton wanted to offer him a new deal and keep him. My understanding is they wanted to keep him. Now, look, again, no one's immune to criticism. But as an Everton Academy director, I believe your job is to make sure that the players that are in the academy are getting everything they need to make the first team. I mean, I'm sorry, but I've got no evidence to suggest he's done a good job here. Now, I don't know him. I didn't even know who he was until the reports come out. But if I'm being honest, if you look at jobs, it's usually based on your success. I mean, for example, if I didn't hit a certain number of sales, I would be deemed a failure, or I would be deemed not as good as other people, not good enough, or just average at my job, whatever. You, for example, if you didn't get enough taxi fares, you wouldn't earn enough money. It's not rocket science. Yeah. So Everton haven't had a crop of young players go through the academy into the first team, bar the odd one who's made fleeting appearances in years. Literally the only recent one I can think of that's really made a real go of it was Tom Davies.
Yeah.
Now, that's not good enough.
See, I don't understand why Everton were willing to offer him another contract when it's not as if we've got academy players rolling off the conveyor belt season on season, ready to challenge the first team players. We haven't got it. As you say, probably a couple now. Got Harrison Armstrong at Derby, but he's had to go out to gain a bit more experience to probably become the player that people are talking about now. Jared Brandwaite went out on loan to PSV. Now, Everton, you know, in the background, doesn't look like we're going to have a director of football. Angus Kinnear is coming from Leeds. It looks like he's bringing somebody else from Leeds, where I can't think of his name. So maybe this Prosser, or whatever his name was, is probably going to feel like his nose is being pushed out a bit, with the Friedkins coming in and wanting to do things differently in the background, wanting to do things differently with the academy. And he probably wasn't willing to hang around to see if he could work in them conditions. Where, as I say, Kinnear coming in, someone else from Leeds coming in, no director of football, Kevin Thelwell going to Rangers, he's going to follow him. So I just think he's realised that he wouldn't have liked the situation that he was working in. And to be fair, I have no problem with him going, because, as I said before, it's not as if you've got academy graduates rolling off the conveyor belt and challenging for the first team. You look at Brighton, they do it well. You look at Man United years ago with their academy players that come through. If you look at Liverpool, they've had a couple who've come through. Alexander-Arnold come through. Michael Owen come through. You know, all the top clubs have had academy players come through and make it. How many have we had come through in the last 10, 20 years and make it?
It's not many.
No.
It's not many.
So he obviously felt his nose was pushed out. He didn't want to work in the situation that was going to be brought in by the Friedkins. And he said, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to move and follow Kevin Thelwell to Rangers. Don't have a problem with, because there's not enough talent there, you know, and the Friedkins have come in and they've said they're going to start right from the bottom and work their way right up to the top. They want the under-23s, the under-21s, the under-18, the kids. They want a better setup and they want to bring people in. And they want to start producing talents, because we all know, and we've said that on here, you bring players through who have cost you nothing, and then you can sell them for big money. That's what the top clubs do now. They sell them for a lot of money, and they've hardly cost them anything. I think Everton now, because we're going to be run like a proper business, I think that's the sort of route that Everton are going to go down now.
Yeah, and that's where I think it should be. A couple of last little bits. Everton have been linked with left back Junior Firpo from Leeds. Obviously, former Barcelona man. He's played over 100 times for Leeds. Scored a couple of goals. Pacey left back. The opinion on Leeds fans, I think, is very mixed. He's out of contract. It depends on wages for me, because he was on Barcelona's books. I think he was on decent wages. I think he gets paid quite heavily, quite well at Leeds. I don't know how sold I am about this, but if I base it on his last performance, they played against Bristol City. He got an assist. So running on the edge of the box, putting balls into the box, being pacey, being strong. I don't think it's a downgrade on Mykolenko, but I'm just not 100% if it's an upgrade either. Do you get what I mean?
I think he'll offer it more in certain areas than what Mykolenko offers, as you quite rightly say. Mykolenko doesn't have many assists, and Firpo's got pace. Mykolenko's not blessed with pace. You're not shit if you've played for Barcelona. So I think he would be an upgrade on Mykolenko, but is he enough of an upgrade to give him big wages, what we probably have to match with Leeds and more? Probably get him for a free because he's out of contract, as you say. But if you're going to give someone quite high wages to be a number two to Mykolenko, then I'll say it again, there's more pressing areas in the squad that need strengthening before we start looking at things like that.
Yeah, and just to put it into perspective, Junior Firpo this season has got 10 assists.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an upgrade straight away, isn't it?
Which is an upgrade. The only difference is Firpo's is in the Championship. So that's your counter argument, isn't it?
Could be a deal to be done with, well, won't be a deal to be done with Beto because obviously Firpo's on a free, but wonder if there's a chance if Beto goes there, we could reignite our interest in Willie Gnonto.
Who knows, John? Who knows? He's just won. I think he's just won Leeds Young Player of the Year, which is a hell of an achievement. Bearing in mind he wanted to leave at the start of the year. So yeah, that's an interesting one as well. Cool. Right. I don't think I've got anything else to mention. Yeah, we do. One last thing. There's not been any talk so far. I don't wait for them to give me a contract or not. I already have some proposals on the table. Abdoulaye Doucoure, or as some people say, Abdoulaye Doucoure. I think Moyes is on the fence about Doucoure because I think Moyes would keep Doucoure, but I think he knows the fans don't necessarily want to. But then you threw a spanner in the works in the car earlier when you were driving home, because what did you say?
I can't believe I said it. I just thought on Saturday, the way Everton played, we probably missed someone like a Doucoure in a way, but we didn't miss him enough for someone to keep coming out mentioning contract talks when I think he's 32, nearly 33. If he really wants to stay at the club, he's going to have to be willing to take a pay cut, because he keeps throwing these little fucking tweets out, or, these little quotes like he's done today again. I think there's clubs in Saudi interested in Doucoure. Listen, if they can get him for nothing, they're going to give him really good wages over in Saudi. I don't think you see Doucoure at Everton next season. I won't lose any sleep over it. I just thought on Saturday, the way Ipswich played, and I thought James Garner was poor, and actually thought Idrissa Gana Gueye was quite poor the other day. I just think we might have had a better chance of snatching the 3 points if Doucoure was there, just to sort of break the Ipswich play up a bit. But listen, that's just a one-off from me, because I was pissed off after Saturday, and I'm just looking for excuses where we could have possibly got more out the game. But I have no problem with Doucoure going 32 years of age, one of the biggest paid players at the club, and he's got offers on the table from Saudi Arabia. So I think that's where you see him.
Yeah, he's also looks like he's also got offers from teams in the Premier League as well. So,
but they unless it's one of the top clubs, which it's not going to be, they're not going to pay him the wages he wants. But again, maybe they won't be far off the mark with the wages he wants, because they're getting him for nothing, aren't they?
Yeah. And last thing, Everton target Liam Delap. So we all saw the weekend he signed the wall, and some of us got really excited, including me. Tottenham have put their balls on the table today, and by all accounts have gone, we want you to sign for us. Now, I think that highlights a complete failure at Tottenham, because 2 seasons ago as a striker, they signed Richarlison. The season after, they signed Dominic Solanke, and now they're after Liam Delap. It's an absolute shitfest. And I think if I was Liam Delap, I would stay well away from Tottenham Hotspur.
If I was Liam, we said this the other night, didn't we? If I was Liam Delap, I'd probably stay at Ipswich before I went to that car crash that is Tottenham. Looks like Postecoglou will probably lose his job at the end of the season, so he doesn't know who he's going to be playing for. What happens with Solanke? Rumours going round that Tottenham want 35 to 40 million for Richarlison. No one's going to pay that for him. So all of a sudden, they've got Richarlison, Liam Delap, and Dominic Solanke on the books. Now, I've seen enough of Dom Solanke to actually say that Liam Delap will probably play second fiddle to him. Again, just seen an interview with Garnacho at Man U. He's got a contract till 27, 28. He's happy at the club. He doesn't want to go. And this is what we spoke about the other night. If Liam Delap wants to be the main man at a football club and progress, not necessarily win things, not necessarily play in Europe, but if he wants to develop as a young player, and we've seen what Moyes has done, we spoke about this the other night, I honestly think the best fit for Liam Delap at this point in his career, forget Tottenham, forget Man U, forget Chelsea, I think he will earn more of football progression at Everton. I really believe that. And that's not my blue tinted glasses, because I said the other day I didn't see enough of Delap the other day to go, wow, hope we sign him. But I just think as a player, I think he's got more chance of developing at Everton than them 3 clubs that I've just mentioned.
I completely agree. And this isn't blue tinted glasses at all, but there's only certain clubs that are going to be able to match the ambition of a new set of owners going into a brand new stadium with, by all accounts, money to spend. There's not many teams in the Premier League that are going to be able to match Everton's ambitions for next season. Do not get me wrong. You know, Moyes talks a good game. But if David Moyes is sitting there thinking Everton are going to finish in the Champions League spots, because there was a quote I heard the other day, I think it was Tarkowski, he comes out and he goes, you know, if Nottingham Forest can do it, why can't Everton? Well, I get that. But they signed 35 players 2 seasons before, which have all bedded in now. And by the way, they got a few right. Murillo, for example, looks right. Chris Wood all of a sudden turns into a superstar, blah, 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 blah. Everton haven't got any of that. But David Moyes can certainly get a team that looks like it's going to finish around 14th, 15th, 16th. And I definitely think he can get them 8th. Now, if you're Liam Delap and you're knocking on the door of Europe in a year after you've scored 15 goals for Everton, in a career sense, it's certainly not a bad move.
He's made the right move, hasn't he? Because I don't think he'll score. I don't think he'll get the chance to score 15 goals, for example, at Chelsea in a season, because I don't think he'll play regularly. I don't think he'll play regular enough at Tottenham. At that car crash. I mean, if you've got any sense about, and listen, you know, Tottenham looks like they're in the second leg semi-final of the Europa League. I think we can only aspire to be in that position at this given time. But I think the bigger picture, and looking at Tottenham as a football club, it is a car crash at the minute for certain players. And I just think he would be, if he signed a 3-year contract while he's still young, I just think if he goes to the likes of Man U, Chelsea and Tottenham, I think he's wasting 2 or 3 years of his career. Whereas if he goes to Everton and gives Everton 2 or 3 years, I think he scores goals consistently. I think he's one of the players who can take us to the next level. And I also think he'll progress more at Everton than any of the other clubs I've just mentioned.
Yeah, and his wages are there. Because if Everton don't sign Doucoure, I'd rather give 100 grand a week to a 22-year-old or 23-year-old that can score me 15 or 12, 15 goals in the Premier League than give it to Doucoure, if I'm being honest. So
well, I don't think Tottenham and Man United give him 100 grand a week, because Man United can't really spend that sort of money. We know what Daniel Levy's like, so I don't think they'll give him 100 grand a week. So if he's going to chase the money before his career, then Everton probably will offer him the biggest wage out of the clubs that are linked with him. It's up to him then, isn't it, to make that decision. But I think the right decision, again, as a football fan, not just as an Everton fan, but for Liam Delap's career, I think Everton's the best fit next season going forward with what Everton can offer.
Yeah, spot on. Right, guys, look, we will leave it there. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Deep video today. Deep video. So, we are where we are. I've got nothing else to add. John, have you?
Nope, nothing at all, apart from my phone's on 13%. We have got a match preview tomorrow for Saturday.
Fulham, 3 o'clock.
Yeah, Fulham. Could be Marco Silva's one of the last games, if rumours are to be believed. He's off to Saudi.
Mad.
And we had him on.
There you go. I mean, we could end this video with your little video that you clipped at the end of the Norwich game.
Which?
So in that Norwich game, you went, "Come on, Big Yerry, come on." What the fuck's that? What is that? It's your man Sidibe, for fuck's sake, get over. And fuck off, Silva, fuck off.
Out the club.
All in one video. It's tremendous. Which you can see in the library of old videos. So if you are interested, make sure you go and watch some of them. They are hilarious. Certainly the watch-alongs as well. But right, guys, we will leave it there. Hit the like and subscribe. See you soon. Love you long ways. And that's for Lisa. To her.
Brilliant.